So Mary Bennet is finally having her moment in the sun. She is the main character of the BBC's new series, The Other Bennet Sister. This is a 10-part series that is coming out on the streaming service BritBox here in America, and currently the first 5 episodes have dropped, and guys, we need to discuss them. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how the series compares to the original The Other Bennet Sister book, as well as how it compares to Regency Era reality. If you want to learn all about that, then definitely stay tuned for today's video. My name is Ellie Dashwood, and this is my channel where we talk about history and literature. If you like either of those things, please subscribe. So as you guys know, I did a recent video breaking down the book that this series is based on. So the original book covers some of the important plot points of Pride and Prejudice, only from Mary Bennet's perspective, and then the rest of the book goes on her continuing adventure after Lizzie's married and Jane's married and Kitty gets married, and of course, we all know Lydia is already married. The really big question, of course, is Mary ever going to get married, or what is she going to do in her life? And so this book really follows her on a self-discovery journey as she learns to love herself and find romance. And now, of course, the BBC has taken this book and it's turned it into a 10-part miniseries. Now, this 10-part miniseries has already come out over in the UK a couple of months ago. So, guys from the UK, no spoilers in the comments, please. In this video, we're only going to be discussing the first 5 episodes that are currently available in America. And yeah, I am going to be giving full spoilers of those 5 episodes though. So first up, my overall impression of this series is that it's very fun to watch. It's really pretty. It's very Regency-esque. However, at the same exact time, I also feel like a lot is being lost in translation from the book to the screen. So for example, the book is kind of heavy. It deals with a lot of really important themes like what is the nature of happiness, what is true self-love, what is true beauty, what is true romance. All of these themes can be kind of heavy in The Other Bennet Sister. Is a little bit of a broody book, I have to say. However, the makers of this show have sort of taken that and lightened it up, simplified it in a lot of ways, and also, especially I would say in the first 2 episodes where we are getting a retelling of important scenes like the Netherfield Ball and the Meryton Ball, the Bennet family is coming across as very ridiculous and very farcical. And I just don't like it. I have never really been one for turning Jane Austen themed things into a farce. So for example, when they took Lady Susan and they turned it into Love and Friendship, that was not my favorite thing ever, as I have mentioned a million times on this channel. Anyway, I think a prime example of this is in episode 1, where we have Mary Bennet who kind of narrates over the story a lot, and she's telling the backstory of how her parents got together and got married, and then the next thing you know, we have a sex scene between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. I genuinely do not think that anyone has ever requested this. What Pride and Prejudice fan is like, you know what we need? A demonstration of how the Bennet sisters were conceived. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm still convinced that nobody requested this. I think it was mostly there just to make the Bennet family look a little bit ridiculous. So in the first 2 episodes, we do get that recap of some of the important Pride and Prejudice scenes, including the Meryton Ball. Now, guys, this is something I actually left out of my book review video a couple of videos ago because it was a scene that upset me so much. I just wanted to wait and see how they handled it in the series before talking about it. And it's like almost identical in the series, and now I'm even more upset. But first up, a word from this video's sponsor. So you guys know I've been learning new skills and hobbies on Skillshare for years now, whether that is learning to crochet cute animal friends or learning how to vlog. So Skillshare has classes taught by world-class creatives, whether that's designers, illustrators, or successful entrepreneurs. So recently I had a friend get engaged and I wanted to design a card for her bridal shower that was unique and that was really special. And so I've decided to take a class on Skillshare all about designing greeting cards. It is called Hand Lettering for Illustrators, Creating Greeting Cards in Procreate by Jess Miller. And I am learning so much in this class. She takes you step by step through her process from brainstorming to drawing out thumbnails. And guys, I even drew out thumbnails. So here are my thumbnails. The overall concept I learned in this class is to combine multiple things you love into the same design. So we're going with Cat plus Jane Austen. And so now I've taken it over into Procreate, and this is what I have thus far. It's just so cute. It says, "You found the perfect gentleman." I am starting to debate if I should have had two R's in perfect. So if you're looking to reconnect with your creativity, then definitely check out Skillshare, where humans learn awesome skills and hobbies from other humans. Right now, the first 500 people to click the link in the description below or scan my QR code can get a 1-month free trial. So definitely check them out today. Now, back to the video. Okay, here is what's upsetting me about the way the Meryton ball is handled. First of all, the book acts like this is Mary's first ball, which I don't think there's any indication of that in the original Pride and Prejudice. I guess it just sort of worked for the author to make it more dramatic, like, okay, this is Mary's first ball ever. Now, this I think is supposed to be an explanation of how she does not know the most basic Regency ball etiquette point, which is that you should not dance more than twice with the same gentleman. That is like Regency ball 101. Like, I feel like most any Regency lover today even knows this etiquette. They definitely knew it back then. However, in the book and the series, Mary is just oblivious to this fact. And then she goes to the Meryton ball where she's sort of reunited with the optician guy who makes her glasses and kind of has a crush on her. His name is Mr. Sparrow. Okay, Mr. Sparrow comes and asks her to dance, and they're having a great time. She dances with him the 2 appropriate times. Then we have Charlotte Lucas come over and sort of talk to Mary and warn her, like, hey, if you dance with him again, people are going to start gossiping about you and sort of like raise their eyebrows at you and probably should not dance with him again. Which is very fair and sound advice. And again, I do not believe that there's any way on this planet that Mary could have gotten to this point and not known that. She would have grown up hearing this etiquette. She would have heard it as Elizabeth and Jane experienced balls and talked about them at home. Like, her dancing master probably would have mentioned it to her. Mary is a very intelligent person. I refuse to believe that this is the first time she's hearing this. However, at the same time, in the series, it is. We just have to accept that's how the series rolls. Mary is now informed of this, and she has to decide, will she listen to society's dictates and probably what her mother wants her to do and crush Mr. Sparrow's feelings and hopes for a third dance? Or should she listen to her own emotions that she likes this guy and dance with him again? Of course, we know she turns him down, right? And this is the part that makes me so incredibly upset. First of all, Mr. Sparrow has the gall to act crushed when this girl will not dance with him a third time. How does he also not know this etiquette? He was putting her reputation at risk by asking her a third time. That is what he was doing. If anyone in this entire situation needs to feel bad about it, it is him. So he has no place to be like, I'm crushed for all eternity because the girl turns me down as she should have. Meanwhile, this makes Mary go into sort of this tailspin of like, I have crushed Mr. Sparrow because I didn't follow my heart. And so now I'm just going to totally cut out all feelings because my feelings are treacherous and I'm going to just live off of reason. Girl, no. It was not your fault. He should not have asked you a third time. You did the perfectly normal thing to protect your reputation by turning him down, and he needs to grow up and deal with it. And the fact that this entire thing is like the launch board into so much of her weird, I'm going to only live in my head and be intellectual and have no emotions, lifestyle that takes over the next third of the book or so, it just upsets me so much that I'm like, none of this makes Regency sense. That is my Mr. Sparrow to Meryton Ball, it does not make sense rant. Let us move on to my other rant. Okay, so the first 2 episodes follow the book pretty closely. That is where we have the events of Pride and Prejudice. Now, I forget if it's at the end of episode 2 or the beginning of episode 3, Mr. Bennet dies. Right? And that sort of pushes the story headlong into the next section which is Mary's continuing adventures after the action of Pride and Prejudice. Now, I don't know why, but they pretty much cut out a third of the original book, because the structure of the original book was the first third was retelling Pride and Prejudice. The second third was Mary sort of moving between Pemberley and then back to Longbourn to stay with Charlotte and Mr. Collins for a while. And then the third part of the book is when she finally goes to stay with the Gardiners, her aunt and uncle in London. For some reason, that middle third, they have just cut out, because the series goes directly from Mr. Bennet dying to her going to London to live with the Gardiners. She does not get to have the interesting time period that we shall not talk about. So if you're just watching the series or have never read the book, this might come as a shocker to you, but there is a part in the book where Mary comes and stays with Charlotte and Mr. Collins as they live at Longbourn. And she has pretty much an emotional affair with Mr. Collins, to the point that Charlotte gets super jealous and turns into extra villainous mode and runs her out of town. I'm sorry, but why would you cut this out of the series? And I think it's very actually an important period of growth for Mary, as she is searching for those answers on what is the source of happiness and do you need love for marriage to be happy and things like that. And so she's learning a lot through this experience, and I don't think she gets to learn it in her overall character development arc in the same way in the series. So I guess this is what I'm saying about the creators of the series just really simplifying the books and sort of streamlining into marketability, I feel like. And I think Mr. Collins gets the short end of the stick here because he gets very humanized, and there's a lot of compassion for him. I feel like in the original, The Other Bennet Sister, the book, that gets completely stripped away in this series. If anything, he's even more ridiculous in this series than the average. I mean, if you compare this Mr. Collins to, say, the Mr. Collins from the 2005 movie, this Mr. Collins, he's 10 times, 20 times worse. Now, of course, only the first 5 episodes are out, so perhaps they will take some of the scenes that are in the missing third of the book and spread them out in a different chronological order, but I also don't think that any of that would actually work with the overall character arc development of Mary, but again, alas, what are you gonna do? I don't know. Okay, rewinding to episode 3, which is now when she endeavors off to go to London. This is the moment in the series I had a full body reaction of upsetness. So in the original book, when she goes to stay with the Gardiners, her aunt and uncle, of course, this is the same couple that took Lizzie up on that vacation by Pemberley, that helped her get with Darcy and everything, those people. Basically, she goes as their guest. Right? She is their niece. She is family. She is coming to stay with them, and they are loving and awesome and amazing people. And they, I think, are some of the key contributors that help her on this journey of learning to love and accept herself and find her own happiness. However, in the series, we see Mrs. Bennet decide to send Mary to the Gardiners to be their temporary governess to their children. Guys, the Regency difference between going to them as a family member and as a guest versus as their governess is so dramatically different. So if you have seen my video on Regency era governesses, you will understand that they sort of lived in this strange no man's land. By becoming a governess, what would happen is a woman of genteel birth would essentially socially lower herself into this intermediary class that was below gentility but above the servants. And this carried with it a lot of stigma, because we have to remember that one of the key aspects of being a gentlewoman during this time period means not officially being employed or earning wages. Right? Of course, women worked. I have a whole video on a day in Elizabeth Darcy's life. She is doing so much stuff all of the time to keep her household and the estate and everything running. However, she was also not on anyone's payroll. right? So this was acceptable, genteel female work versus being hired as a governess. Not okay. This would be extra humbling for Mary because she is by birth genteel. Her father was a land-owning gentleman. Now, of course, the gardeners, as we've talked about before, are not genteel in that they are in trade, they are social climbers, they are working their way up. However, they definitely are nowhere near the social status that Mary was born to. Meaning, for Mary Bennet to leave gentility, to become the governess for people who are socially beneath her children, would be quite the slap in the face socially. So basically, this move would seriously hurt Mary socially and also her potential chances of making a socially equal match in marriage. This would also reflect very badly on her family because, again, Jane and Elizabeth both married very well. There is no reason their sister should be out being a governess. This is, in fact, reflecting bad on all of the Bennets that one of them has been left to such destitution that she needs to go into a paid position. And so because of all of that, it does not make sense that the Gardners would ever do that to Mary. We know the Gardners are very kind and loving and invested in their nieces, and there is no reason that they would want to socially humiliate and denigrate Mary and hurt her chances for making a good match. And so my brain has just been over here trying to figure out why on earth they would make this change. They could have just, again, done what the book did and have Mary go stay with her aunt and uncle as their guest and niece. However, they didn't. They made her instead go as a governess. It could be because our modern concept of dependence on relatives is different now than it was then, right? I feel like a lot of modern people would feel more comfortable with oh yeah, Mary has a job. She's earning her own keep. She's out there supporting herself versus she's just sort of living off her relatives the rest of her life. However, again, that is not how the Regency Era saw things. Rather, this would be viewed as a negative on the family for not being able to support Mary and force Mary into this socially lowered position. This is it makes no sense that Mary became a governess and that's not even compatible with what the Gardners would ever agree to. Rant. But in the series, Mary becomes the governess for her cousins, the children of Uncle and Aunt Gardner. Of course, Uncle and Aunt Gardner are amazing. And then guess who they happen to be friends with? Mr. Hayward, this really, really cute guy-in-law. So of course, Mary and Mr. Hayward have so many things in common, and he really appreciates her for her mind and her perspective on life, and he's cute. And then it comes out that he is engaged. I think. Maybe? I'm confused still. And it gets to this scene where Mr. Hayward, who has been totally flirting with Mary, by the way. I'm just saying, this is not all in Mary's imagination. I'm no, he's been totally sending you signals, girl. Anyway, Mr. Hayward and this beautiful young woman called Miss Baxter are at a ball, and Miss Baxter pretty much indicates that she's engaged to Mr. Hayward. Is this one of those classic situations where she's just pretending to be engaged to him, or there's some total misunderstanding because he continues to engage with Mary as if he's not engaged? He's acting very unengaged around Mary. Or is it just me? I don't think that you take a girl and her aunt and uncle to a garden in the morning to read them poetry if you don't like her. Unless is this just common male behavior, and no one has broken that to me. And that's why I'm just over there trying to gaslight myself into believing that there's just been some really big misunderstanding and he's not actually engaged to Miss Baxter. However, I feel in episode 5, they started having Miss Baxter say and do little things that indicate that she's maybe not super happy in her relationship with Mr. Hayward. So maybe she's going to call it off and put him at liberty again. However, that's not what's upsetting me here the most. What's upsetting me here is the fact that Mr. Hayward is flirting with Mary when he's engaged to another woman, and that is not what an honorable Regency Era gentleman does. And it's especially upsetting because that is not what he does in the book. In the book, there is no Miss Baxter and he's not engaged. When this started happening, I'm like, how far are they going to stray off the book? So basically what I'm saying is Mr. Hayward so far in the TV series is a little bit of a player, and in the original book, he's like a perfect Regency gentleman. And so someone needs to like tie up those loose ends. Guys, I don't know why I'm having so many spicy thoughts on this series, but overall, I'm actually really enjoying watching it, which probably does not sound true, seeing how I just gave this very long list of rants. So those have been my thoughts on the first 5 episodes of The Other Bennet Sister. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do the other 5 episodes. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you are thinking of The Other Bennet Sister thus far. Are you excited for the next 5 episodes? Are you also confused by Mr. Hayward and if he's engaged or not? I think he is engaged. I think I'm just living in denial, hoping he's more of a gentleman than that. Maybe he's just clueless. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, keep being awesome, because you're awesome. Bye!